Now, lots of front pages this morning, as you would expect, are asking if the party is over for Boris Johnson as the fallout continues from the Bring Your Own Booze Downing Street party held during the first lockdown. Well, later today, we'll hear, hopefully, what the Prime Minister has to say after MPs, including Labour's Angela Rayner, urged him to reveal if he was actually there or not.
His absence speaks volumes, as does his smirks on the media. The public have already drawn their own conclusions. He can run, but he can't hide. Many people made huge personal sacrifices. And the Minister, quite frankly, hides behind the grey investigation. There's no need for an investigation into the simple, central question today. Did the Prime Minister attend the event in the Downing Street Garden on the 20th of May 2020?
Well, Deputy Labour leader Angela Rayner joins me now. He wasn't there to answer that very, very simple question. No government ministers are available to the media today. They've all been pulled. Hopefully, he's going to turn up at Prime Minister's questions and hopefully he's going to answer that very point that you made.
Yeah, thanks, Lorraine. It's incredibly frustrating for people because we all know that in May of 2020, things were really tough and many people lost their loved ones and were not able to be there by their side as they were dying and needing that support. And, for the Prime Minister to be having a party with, over 100 invites went out apparently and over 30 attended. And then for the last couple of weeks has been saying, there hasn't been any parties that he was aware of, and then for the last couple of days to not even just come clean and say yes or no, was you at this party, I think just as incredibly upset and triggered people who have been going through so much over this pandemic.
Well, you can get away with it for so long, can't you? And then you find that, obviously, of course, the opposition are going to have a go. Of course they are. That's why you're there. But things like long-term supporters, newspapers that have supported him through many a scandal are now turning against him. And you've called for his resignation. He's not going to resign, is he?
I think, the Conservatives have a real responsibility here because, they do have a majority in Parliament, but they were telling their constituents at the time, and many of them were fined by the police, were, told off if they breached the COVID regulations, businesses were closed, schools were shut, people made huge sacrifices. Our NHS workers, over 200 of them died on that day. And, the Conservatives were telling their constituents to abide by the rules. They have a responsibility now that they cannot allow a Prime Minister who has lied, who has deceived and who has broken the rules to continue. It's not okay. It's not the way we do politics here. And, I applaud the Conservatives that have come out and opposed what the Prime Minister has done and has spoken out. And I think now they have a responsibility to make him answer that central question. They don't need an inquiry. They don't need the police to say whether he was there or not. Boris Johnson, was you there? Yes or no? And then Conservative MPs, you have the power to do something about it. What are you going to do about it?
So basically, you've got an open goal, haven't you? But there's a massive problem here, isn't there? And that is a general distrust and almost like a disconnect between politicians and the public. There's a weariness, Angela, with the public who they think, they'd believe anything now. Nothing would surprise any of us.
I know, and I find that really disappointing, and I do understand it though, and I do understand that the British public have just about had enough of politicians over a period of time. But I will honestly say to the public that majority of politicians, including Conservatives, go into public office to uphold the law, to support their constituents, and to try and do the right thing and make a difference to people. So when a politician acts in this way and undermines the office, it does create public distrust with all of us, and it's incredibly frustrating for most members of Parliament. We are ordinary people. I was a care worker. I went into politics because far too many people who have fought for our country, who have worked hard for our country, they get old and they think, I've had my time, maybe leave it for someone else, and they don't complain about their lot, and I think they should be looked after better. And this is just another one of those examples of where they feel let down, and I feel very passionate about making sure they understand understand that don't give up on politicians and the rule of law, because I believe in it, and I believe in the role of changing people's lives for the better, and I'll keep standing up and fighting for them and hopefully earning their respect, because respect is not given, it's earned. But far too many of the politicians on the front bench of the Conservative Party at the moment seem to think that there is one rule for them and one rule for everybody else. But I promise you there isn't, and I won't rest until they're brought to justice and they're held to account by the British people.
But your party's still trying to recover, isn't it, from the disastrous Jeremy Corbyn years? And people are still, I think a lot of voters are still wary. We saw that. I mean, you've effectively lost Scotland. The elections, you got thrashed. The famous red wall tumbled down. How do you regain that? I mean, it's easy to say it, isn't it, that we're going to engage and we're going to try and get people's trust back. But there's still a resistance, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, I think there is an incredible resistance, and I certainly am not celebrating thinking that the people at home are looking at this and saying, well, Labour's the answer. I don't think that we've met that test fully yet, and I think there's a long way to go. And both myself and Keir, when we were elected as leader and deputy leader, understood that, and we were very clear, and we've been working towards regaining that trust and respect. And I believe that we are showing we're a government in waiting, we are listening, and we do care about our country. We care about, you know, people being able to get on. I want my grandchild to have the best possible start in life, and I want everyone's child to have that. And I think that we have to speak to the public, explain that we understand their concerns, but then have the answers to that and have an inspirational and hope for people, because people need it right now. They're fed up, they feel frustrated by the circumstances we're in, and they need, they need hope for the future. And myself and Keir and our shadow cabinet are a government in waiting, and hopefully we'll be able to regain that trust so that we could have the absolute honour of representing the public. And this is the distinction, really. I think that's what politicians need to recognise, especially the Conservative politicians, is that we govern by consent and at the honour of privilege of somebody voting for us to represent their views in Parliament and not be selfless and think about ourselves.
Angela, thank you very much for joining us. It's going to be a very interesting Prime Minister's question time. I do hope that he turns up. Thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you. Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub, and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.